Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles episode review. This is going to be for Season 4, Episode 5, Riddle of the Ancient Aeons. And, you know, this was an okay episode. I didn't think it was anything spectacular. There were some cool things, not executed perhaps the way I would have wanted it to be, but not the worst episode of the season either. It's just a case of they're dealing with a lot of seemingly like really important things. Like I think the last episode or the one before that was like one of the three most powerful beings in the universe, and they just kind of made a joke out of him and the whole episode. Then here, this really ancient race of beings that are kind of all about light and stuff like that. And you have this whole mystery about the corruption of this planet, how it's evil now, but it used to be one of the most beautiful places ever. There was a cool story to be told here. I just felt like they didn't give it the importance it should have had. And I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that this seems to be the format that they're going for this season. We're going to hit a new planet basically every episode. We're going to try and tell some sort of a story on each planet. And it's just not giving enough time to each planet, to each race, to really be of importance. Now, potentially the Aeons could come back in that by the end of the episode, April is given a little bit of the Soul Star thing, the kind of source of the kind of goodness, I suppose, on this planet, which they seem to make relatively important. But again, this show and its track record of bringing back things that it's referenced before, and like it seems important here, but how are they actually going to use it going forward? That's going to be what's interesting going forward. So it's kind of hard to really trust the show in regards to like, will it be able to actually execute on some of the stuff it's set up here? Perhaps it will, perhaps it won't, but either way, you know. And then, you know, there's some slight foreshadowing perhaps with what Raphael was saying, you know, like even, or was it Donatello? I think it was Donatello at the end who was saying like, if an ancient race of beings like that can be kind of transformed and tainted by evil, you know, like even the most powerful of us can be tainted. And like as he was saying that, they were cutting over to April with the piece of the thing, kind of suggesting that she technically would be one of the most powerful members of their group with her if she learns to use her psychic powers. Are they in some way suggesting that April might be tempted by some sort of evil at some point in the future episodes, and that piece of this Soul Star might be what kind of brings her back? Maybe that's what they're going for, but maybe I'm reading too much into it. Again, this show really hasn't been one to foreshadow anything like that and really execute on it. But anyway, the episode is basically we know from previous episodes they are on the trail of the Triceratons, and the main plot again is that they have to find I think 3 pieces of the Triceraton black hole weapon, and one of them is located on this planet. We get established at the start that the Triceratons are also on this planet, and our crew eventually lands there as well. The main gist of the episode, most of it, is about the fact that this planet is different than Professor Honeycutt, the Fugitoid, knows from before. He used to think it was a beautiful planet, no, not really a dangerous planet at all, but then it turns out that it's actually a planet filled with evil, and April can sense this. I like the little bit of extra focus on April, though I don't think she was like developed all that much in the episode, though she was given a much bigger role than usual. The main thing that they had here with the kind of corruption of the planet was that it highlighted the kind of anger, highlighted the negative emotions of all of the characters. So any minor kind of conflict was elevated into kind of basically full-on fighting. So they had Raph and Mikey arguing, Raph and Leo arguing, Donnie and Casey arguing. But and I suppose the most notable thing here was the moment where you think Leo and all of the others are giving into it, and then he and Raph are really going to come to blows, and Raph gets really angry and goes to like stab Leo, and then Leo, who you also think is angry, you think he's about to like snap and take out Raphael, he actually just hugs Raphael and just says, you know, "I love you, bro," basically. And it was a nice moment, that definitely, but as the kind of big moment they were building towards. It just felt a little bit like quite sudden, like it came really out of the blue in the episode, in terms of like, it wasn't like everyone was like super struggling to get past the evil thoughts and stuff like that. It was just like, and it seemed like another random fight, and then Leo just hugs him and just says, we need to keep going and doing this. And the Triceratons get the first piece of the black hole generator. They later revealed that the Utrons gave it to the Aeons to protect, but this technology basically completely like distracted the complete attention of the Aeons. They wanted to discover the power of this weapon, and became so distracted by that they kind of forgot about their soul star, and that became more and more kind of buried below, and they forgot about it. And once it was underground, like we find it, it basically turned the whole planet evil, like corrupted by this dangerous technology, which is an interesting idea. But the fact that you didn't like in any way characterize the Aeons as like a species really held back this story from being like really really interesting. Like I suppose actually the most obvious comparison between this and another show is given that the format they have is traveling from planet to planet, it kind of feels a little bit like One Piece, just crazy fast paced, in the sense of One Piece is all about traveling from island to island. There's a big story on each island about the inhabitants and what's happening there, the main enemy, and so on. But in this case, we get to see a full planet in one episode. It's the story completely done in one episode, whereas One Piece would devote whole arcs to the story on one specific island. So it's really heavily doing way too much in a small space of time. I would hope that at some point, if they have to do a side plot, that they can really get an interesting planet, stay on it for a couple of episodes, and have some sort of an arc there. If they're really doing the whole space thing, I'd perhaps like them to do the 2003 style thing, where there's a tournament where it's basically a fighting contest between the various species, and perhaps go down the road of having the least expected one, Mikey, win. I think that would be a cool, like, 4 or 5 episode arc, and that would make somewhat sense. Yeah, there's beyond that, it's just that they apparently get trapped in. April discovers the mystery of like pressing the button to kind of reverse the kind of pedestal thing downwards to get the soul star. They bring it up, and it's revealed that the enemies that have been attacking them the whole episode are actually just the corrupted by evil Aeons, and once the soul star is back in place, they actually turn into these basically beings of light that look like Kaminoans from Star Wars. But in that sense, their explanation at the end is probably the most interesting part of the episode, and that they just very quickly explain what's up. They give April the piece of the soul star, and they're just on their way. They're chasing after the Triceratons to get the first piece back. So there's somewhat of a plot going on. It was nice to see the episode really directly hit the plot, but also sort of have a plot to itself with the whole story on the planet. It felt very, very rushed with everything they had to do. No development whatsoever. Even April, who I said again had an important role in the episode in terms of sensing it was evil at the start, being the kind of calming voice throughout the entire conflict, and being the one to kind of save the day in the end, figuring out the soul star, putting it in place, and being gifted for it. That seems relatively important, but ultimately she didn't really, I don't think, develop from this episode. Again, I think there's a little bit of foreshadowing there about perhaps her own powers, if she is in any way gains control of them, could lead her to potentially be corrupted, depending on who's the one to actually teach her and so on. But we will have to see what happens going forward. We're only 5 episodes in. There's still like, I don't actually know. Like, I think this is meant to be a shorter season, but maybe it's not. Like, there's still the potential for it to be a 26 episode season. As far as I'm aware, it's not meant to be, but I'm not fully sure. So better than usual, and hopefully it marks a shift in the show back to being better than it has been before. So I was relatively happy with this. I just hope it continues to be plot focused. I'd want them to just, like, when they do something interesting, just be aware of how interesting it is and give some time to focus on that. Realize that you have some interesting characters, focus on them a little bit more, give them an arc to deal with and do something like that. Like Leo at the very start of this episode was doing the hologram training and he saw Splinter, and there was a nice little emotional moment just referencing the fact that ultimately it's people like that they're doing this for. Like Splinter is dead at this point in time. They're trying to like reverse time, like kind of change history effectively, so that Splinter and basically the entire planet Earth survive. So it was nice to get that little moment just to address that. I want something more than that though. I want to really see these characters develop on this amazing journey that they're going on, and not just have it be fun journey to this planet every single episode. I want character development of note. But yeah, that has been the episode review. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on the episode and my review. Other than that, thanks for watching, and bye.